All right, get ready because today we're going deep, really deep into the mind of a villain, like right before a major heist.
Wow.
And guess what our main source is? Her diary. Yep, we've got her private thoughts, completely unfiltered. It's Squared Spectre, also known as Diamond, just as she's about to make her move.
You know, we don't often get this close to a villain's thoughts, especially one as layered as Diamond.
This isn't just some typical villain speech before they try to take over the world, right?
Yeah.
And to make it even juicier, she's not after the usual stuff like diamonds or holding a city hostage. This is bigger. It's about getting on her brother's team.
You mean the Chaos Crew?
Yeah, them. Led by, oh, you know who? Scam Spectre. That's her brother.
Right, that brother-sister rivalry thing definitely adds something interesting. But what really grabs me is how her own goals get all mixed up with, real sexism in the villain world.
Okay, let's break it down. First, can you give us the rundown on what Diamond can do? Her powers. Like, what makes her such a tough villain?
She's got a whole bunch of tricks. She can make copies of herself. She's like a geography whiz.
Okay, geography.
And, oh, this is a big one. She talks to the dead.
Wait, she can talk to the dead?
Uh-huh.
Okay, now I'm really interested and maybe a little creeped out. But how does this tie into her wanting to be recognized? Does it, give her an edge over other villains, or is it more personal?
Well, it definitely helps her plan, especially when she needs information or wants to kind of nudge things in a certain direction.
Yeah.
But, you might be onto something with that personal angle. Remember when she took those Fiddlecore people hostage? The CEO and the whole board? 6 hours. Wasn't just about data. She wanted to send a message.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's not just power or money she wants. It's more like she needs to be validated, respected. That's driving her.
You got it. And that's where the sexism comes in. Her diary, you can really see how frustrated she is with how the other villains and just people in general see her.
You see this double standard so clearly, too. When Scam Spectre pulls off a heist, they call him a genius. But Diamond, they talk about, and I'm quoting here, her flat chest. Like, come on, they're judging her looks, not what she can actually do.
It's so frustrating, and honestly, it's something a lot of women deal with in fields where men are mostly in charge.
Right.
Even in the villain world, they can't escape those expectations.
This one line in her diary, it just stuck with me. She wrote, "The only women who stand out are the ones that can't be ignored." What do you think she meant by that?
I think it says a lot about how determined she is. She knows she has to go way further than anyone else just to be considered equal to the men.
It's almost like she's saying, if you're going to underestimate me, fine, I'll make you pay attention. But it makes you wonder, can we even call her a villain? I mean, she's fighting against being held back, and that's usually what heroes do.
It definitely makes you think, doesn't it? It makes you wonder about who the bad guys really are, what drives them. We tend to think they're just greedy or power hungry. But Diamond, she shows that sometimes it's about wanting to be recognized, to be treated fairly, even in a world of villains.
So this heist isn't just about the gold. It's about making a point. It's about proving she's got the skills and she's worth something.
Exactly. And the target? $4 million in gold? That's not random. Gold, it represents wealth, power, all that. By taking it, she's not just hitting a bank. She's going after the system that's kept her out. It's a huge statement.
It makes you wonder how her talking to the dead thing fits into all of this. Is it just another trick, or is there more to it?
Well, remember, she's not just trying to impress her brother. She's fighting against a whole life of being dismissed because she's a woman.
And she learned from watching her brother, Scam Spectre. You can tell she admires how successful he is, but she's also got this independent streak, probably from her grandmother, who always told her to stand out.
It's like she's pulled in different directions, wanting to be like her brother, but also wanting to be her own person. That's gotta be tough.
For sure. It makes her even more interesting, harder to predict. She's not just a villain with a simple goal. She's complicated, ambitious, and wants to be seen for who she really is. So we've talked about what makes Diamond tick, how she sees the world, but I gotta know, how do her powers, especially that talking to the dead thing, fit into this heist? It's not exactly your average villain move, even for this world.
You're right about that. It's definitely unique, and it makes you wonder what she'll do with it, especially when you think about the target. $4 million in gold. How do you think she'll use those powers to pull this off?
Honestly, I'm drawing a blank. Most villains go for brute force or some fancy gadget, but Diamond, she's different. She's a thinker, a planner.
Remember that Fiddlecore thing? She didn't just hack their system. She held the CEO and that whole board hostage 6 hours, playing on their fears, using their weaknesses against them, and she walked out with all that client data.
So you think she might use ghosts, like dead criminals, To scare people or trick them? Could she be getting information from ghosts who knew about the gold? Like where it is, the security?
It's possible, isn't it? Imagine a notorious thief, dead, but whispering secrets or threats in your ear. That's a level of manipulation. Well, not many villains could pull that off.
No, that's what I call psychological warfare. It's like she's using the afterlife as a weapon, turning grief and fear into tools. Disturbing, but you gotta admit, it's pretty smart.
And don't forget about her geography skills. We haven't touched on those much, but it's got to be more than just reading a map. Remember how she moved through that security system at Fiddlecore?
Yeah, like she knew that building inside and out, even the secret tunnels, the vents.
Exactly. She probably knows the city's underbelly like the back of her hand.
Listen,
Hidden passages, forgotten tunnels, maybe even old burial grounds. Anything to find a secret way to her target.
whoa, I never thought of that. Her talking to the dead, maybe it's connected to her geography knowledge. Like the ghosts are showing her these hidden parts of the city, telling her secrets that no one alive knows.
It all fits together, and it shows how she thinks. She's not just powerful. She plans things out, uses everything she's got, the real and the ghostly, to get what she wants.
This is making me rethink what a heist even is. It's not just about cracking safes and alarms. It's about this whole web of manipulation, using the living and the dead. It's a lot to take in.
And then there's the symbolism of the gold. It's not just about the money. It's about going against the system, the whole idea of power and wealth.
It's like she's saying, I'm not just breaking into a vault. I'm breaking into your world, the one that's kept me out. And it's coming from a villain who's fighting for her own version of equality.
You nailed it. It's not just a heist. It's a statement.
We've got her motives, her powers. We're even starting to see how she might do it. But there are still so many unknowns. What could happen because of all this? Will she finally get the recognition she wants, or will this blow up in her face?
That's the big question, isn't it? She's brilliant, resourceful, but this world, it's not exactly known for being forgiving, especially to those who rock the boat.
And then there's her brother, Scam Spectre. How will he take all this? Will he be impressed, or will he see her as a threat?
We can't forget about that. Sibling rivalry, especially with villains, that's a whole other level of complicated.
So this heist, it's a gamble with really high stakes. It could launch her to the top or take her down. So we've spent all this time digging into Diamond's plan and what made her the villain she is today. But her diary ends right before the heist, so we're left hanging. What do you think happens next?
It's like a cliffhanger, right? Well, we can't see the future, but we can make some guesses based on, what we know about diamonds and the world she's in.
Yeah, it's all about connecting the dots. So first things first, did she get away with it? $4 million in gold, that's not exactly small potatoes, even for a villain as skilled as her.
I'd say she probably did. She's careful, she's resourceful, and she's got that drive. And remember, this heist, it's not just about the money. It's about proving something, getting the recognition she feels like she's earned. She can't really afford to fail.
Okay, so let's say she gets the gold. What then? Does she just walk up to the Chaos crew and say, hey, I'm here, make room?
I don't think she'd do that, not so directly. The Chaos crew, even though they're villains, they have their own rules. A pecking order, Diamond gets that. Just stealing gold, that's not enough. They need to see that she can think strategically, shake things up without messing with their whole system.
So it's not just what she steals, it's how she does it. It's like a show, something to impress her brother and the other Chaos crew members.
Exactly. Imagine if she pulls off this heist, and in doing so, she exposes some weakness in the city, something that Chaos crew could use later on. That would definitely get their attention.
Now that's smart. It's not just a heist, it's like a showcase, a gift basket of chaos delivered right to the Chaos crew. What a way to make an entrance.
And think about that talking to the dead power. How could she use that? Maybe she plants fake information, starts trouble between rivals, even gets the authorities to help her escape without even knowing it.
It's like she's playing a whole different game with the living and the dead. It's scary, but also, wow, pretty impressive. But what about her brother, Scam Spectre? How do you think he'll react to all this? Proud? Threatened?
That's the big unknown, right? Siblings, especially when they're both villains, that's a whole other level of complicated real. He might see this as her trying to take over, showing she's not going to just follow him anymore.
Like the ultimate test for them. Will their ambition bring them together or tear them apart? And it makes you wonder, how ambitious is Diamond, really? What if she becomes even more successful than her brother? Does she want to lead the Chaos crew? Or even start her own villain group?
That's a tough one, and we can't say for sure, but it's something to think about. Diamond, she reminds us that even with villains, there's always this fight for power, for recognition, and maybe even a messed up sense of purpose.
So, whether she wins over the Chaos Crew or not, what she's doing will have consequences, maybe change the whole villain scene. It's kind of mind-blowing, right?
Absolutely. And it leaves us with a final question to think about. Is Diamond just a villain who wants power and to be noticed? Or is there something more going on? Is she a reflection of the society that pushed her aside, a product of the very system she's fighting? We'll let you think about those.
Well, that's a wrap for our deep dive into the mind of Diamond, also known as Squared Spectre. It's been a wild ride, trying to figure out her ambitions, her motivations, and just how far she'll go. Until next time, keep asking those questions, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.